This is the Mulligan Stew podcast. I'm Terry David Mulligan. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for subscribing. You did, didn't you? Because it all helps. Thank you. This week, Nuela Charles, Edmonton's own Nuela Charles, released her fourth album. It's self-titled, and she's finally found her voice and her stride. And she's out there now. Nuela grew up in Kenya and Switzerland, and I think several other countries, Canada twice, and always knew from the beginning that she was going to be in music some way, somehow. She just felt compelled. She'll explain. She has 3 Juno nominations in Canada. This will give her her fourth, and she will win. And here's how busy she is. She won the 2022 Her Music Award. Next week, she's appearing in Hamburg, Germany. September the 29th, she is one of the headliners at Breakout West in Calgary, also October the 1st. She's writing her own tracks, and she's taking control of her own music. She'll explain that as well. We're going to play some tracks. We're going to play Heavy, Worthy, and the last one is Don't Get It. They're all from Nuela Charles. Her album released this Friday. It's got that new car smell. Here's the complete conversation with Nuela Charles. Her name is Nuela Charles, and you want to know what that's her stage name, because it's longer in real life. The fact still remains is it's a self-titled album, which is what you normally start a career with. You start with your name. You're 4 in now. 4 albums in?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, you've introduced yourself. Nice. But the music, you're very specific with your music. I know that for a fact you think hard about your music and what you want to do with those songs and who you want to produce and how you want it to sound. At the same time, there's people in the studio controlling all the stuff and giving you direction. You have to retain a sense of yourself in your own music. You can't just let somebody else mess with it.
Yeah.
And I know you hold on to that. So how is it getting easier? Do you feel a momentum now?
For sure. I think, in my first record, I was all by myself and I had a producer. I wrote all the songs and then kind of brought it in. The subsequent records, I co-wrote and co-produced with other people. And I feel like during that process, as great as it was, I did feel myself losing some of that control because, I'm also kind of a people pleaser in a sense where it's like, I don't want to offend anybody too much. And so when I'm working with others, I also think about, their feelings. And I kind of forget the fact that I'm the artist. But with this new record, it's like I really took control. And a lot of the songs I started or fully wrote by myself and then brought them to my producer. And he was the best. Like, he was just like, what do you want to say? How do you want this to sound? Like, this is about you. And we were just able to come up with something that feels so authentically myself. And that I think is honestly my best work to date. And it just, for me, screams Nuela Charles. And that's kind of why I had to self-title it, because I couldn't.
Yes, it screams Nuela Charles.
Yeah.
That's what we want. I want my name screamed. It's the new billboard.
Yeah, basically.
Let me ask you about some tracks. So I want to play some music. Heavy. You're a one-word writer too, singer. You all the way back to Awake, right? One word says it all. What does Heavy say to us?
Heavy is about, all of the trauma or, bad times that one can go through might feel like it's weighing you down and the whole world is on top of you. But at the end of the day, you're going to get through it and you're going to get to the good part and it's going to be good again. And you're going to feel like you came out of it with a new sense of purpose. And so for me, it was just like a moment in, my life where I was going through something and I just had this piano riff and the lyric, of the chorus came to mind, and I just kind of quickly shot it down on my voice memos, and it really just resonated with me in that moment, and I was like, oh, there's something there. So yeah, definitely just about, we all go through things in life that might not be so pleasant, but we always get through them and come out better for it, I think.
Hypocrite, if I let it all go, why am I such a hypocrite for telling you I won't? I can't be part. Ooh, then we get to the good part. Tired of it, nothing mattered at all. Wish I wasn't afraid to let all of the pieces fall. I can't be the only one feeling this lonely, trying so hard. And I know it's gonna feel a bit heavy, it's gonna be a bit hard. Nothing that's worth it is easy, even if it falls apart. I don't even know if any love can come out of misery. If I can forget the things that you did to me, I believe before it's easy, it can get hard. But then we get to the good part. Ooh, then we get to the good part. Get to the good part. The sun's gonna come, but then when it's done, we're all gonna get to the good part. You might be alone, but that ain't for long, 'cause you will get to the good part. Your heart may be hurting, you're so deserving, and you will get to the good part. Just know that inside we're all still alive, yeah. It's gonna feel a bit heavy, it's gonna be a bit hard. Nothing that's worth it is easy, even if it falls apart. I don't even know if any love can come out of misery. If I can forget the things that you did to me, I believe before it's easy, it can get hard. But then we get to the good part. Ooh, then we get to the good part. Ooh, then we get to the good part.
Our guest on the Mulligan Stew podcast is Nuela Charles. She has released her self-titled 4th album, and it just got released on Friday. So that's heavy. Worthy.
Worthy, yeah.
Also very personal.
Definitely. I think, with the pandemic and everything, it was really a moment of, sit and figure out what I want to do. Do I still want to do music? Do I still want to continue down this path? And when you're forced to sit there and kind of reevaluate, it puts things into perspective. And I went through a lot of affirmations and, not too heavy into that, but like just speaking positively to yourself, and Worthy came out of that. Just this notion of like, if I want to feel worthy or to have people think I'm worthy, I have to believe it first.
You have to earn that worth.
Exactly. And you have to know that, before you can please anybody, you have to be happy with who you are and really get to know yourself. And I think the time that we all had, the last few years, it was for me just about, what do I want? Who do I want to become? Or who do I want to, what do I want to get better at? Or just things in my life that I may have just pushed aside because I was trying to, run this race in the music industry. And it was like, is that really what I want to do? And so Worthy was one of those songs that came out of that.
Do you think you're I know you're singing to yourself, but are you also singing to like-minded women of color, whatever their situation is?
100%. And I think with everything that I do and, the songs that I write, they all have a piece of me in them, but at the same time, I'm always very conscious of kind of trying to make them universal so other people can latch onto them, whatever their situation may be. It might not be identical, but just so they can see themselves in the music and really relate on a personal level as well. And I think that's why I do it. I want to be able to share kind of positivity and hope and just this idea that, you've got it and keep going, don't quit. But yeah, definitely always try to lean into, how other people might relate to my music.
Haunted by the things you said weren't true. Now I'm cautious, hiding pieces of me out of you. to break me down. Oh, and I see you are hurting just the same somehow. I know all we gotta do is try. Just a little bit harder. This love can't get any higher. If I want it, gotta know I'm worthy to be somebody, somebody to be loved. If I want it, gotta know I'm worthy to be somebody, somebody to be loved. Worthy to be loved. Worthy to be
Our guest on the Mulligan Stew podcast is Nuela Charles. She has released her self-titled 4th album. I've got one more track I want to ask you about in just a second. Did I see a tweet you did about crying in bed to a Goo Goo Dolls Goo Goo Dolls track?
Yeah.
What was the track?
For some reason, I was listening to Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls, and I don't even know where, how, or why. I just felt like, let me go listen to something from the 90s, because it was like, I think I might have been watching something on TV and it played a track, and I'm like, oh, that's such good music. And I just remember that period of time, and I played Iris, and all of a sudden I just started crying. It's like, what is going on? But it's such this nostalgia and remembering where I was when, you first hear songs and that period of life. Like, I was in elementary school, but just like that freedom that I had back then that I kind of wish that I still had today, and just like this uninhibited, like,
Yeah.
I've conquered the world, I could do whatever I want. And the song, it's just, they're so good. So yeah.
I had a conversation with Tammy Nielsen. Are you aware of Tammy Nielsen?
Yeah.
And she's written almost an entire album based on woman's place in country music. And the charts actually say, the research actually says that female voices in country music get about 10% airplay.
Yeah.
How's it in your field, in the pop, soul, R&B world?
Yeah. It's still not great. I don't know the exact numbers, but I know for sure, like, the industry is heavily male dominated. Especially when you get into like who's writing the songs, and even who's writing the songs for women. Like,
no.
Yeah. Like, if you're not your own songwriter, a lot of the songs that are pitched to you are going to be from a male lens. And I don't know. I think it's also come down to, like, men might tend to support each other a bit more than women have in the past. And I think there's always been this sense of competition among females, and I don't know why, but I'm trying to, be more conscious about who I work with and make sure there's always another woman with me, if they're not the producer themselves. And so it's like, yeah, it's definitely interesting, and I think a lot of us are trying to work towards that equality, but it's still going on.
Okay, I'm gonna come back to that right at the end of this conversation. It's what we should end with. So hold on a second. Don't Get It.
Yes.
There's two different versions. There's the cleaned up one and the not cleaned up one. What's on the not cleaned up one that I'm missing?
It's just like the one word that starts with an S and ends with a T. It's like very minor, but I had a request for a clean version for some radio in the States. So not sure how, CKUA would like
you know what?
the dirty version.
I'm gonna ask them about that because we'll send the clean version as well. I mean, it all depends. I think it's time of day.
Yeah.
I think if it's going to school or after school, coming home, and you're driving the kids, so you got to be kind of, there's certain things that are taken into consideration. But Don't Get It. Tell me about the track.
Don't Get It was kind of like my, I don't know, rebellion against like working with certain men in the industry, especially just like producers who have, in one-off sessions, they kind of just make you feel like you're this small.
Yes.
And that you don't know anything even after 10 years in the career and like multiple Juno noms and whatever. And that's all kind of superficial, but it's like you've been recognized for what you do, but yet you go in a room with somebody and they make you feel like you don't know anything about your own art. And it was like, no, this is not how I like to work. So that didn't end up working out too well, but the song was just kind of came out of that thought of like, you think, your words aren't going to break me down. You're not going to shake me. Like you just don't get it. Like, and the way that they're moving in this world, it's like, they think that's how people operate. But for me, it's always be kind to one another. And especially in this industry, like you just got to be a good person. And I just felt they didn't get it. So that one might be a bit less universal, but it was more of just me having to get it out.
Okay. And for everyone who thinks that they only see the glamour, they only see the videos, they only see the people on stage, it is a tough business. And you have to make up your mind how you're going to approach it. And if it rolls over you, you're done.
Yeah. Exactly.
There's nothing you can say, nothing you can do to change my mind. It's better off this way. There's no more room for you here by design. Your rage tore me apart, locked your love up from the start. Now you're questioning if I have a heart. Well, you don't get it. How could you know? How could you know? No, you don't get it. How could you know? How could you know? You've opened up my eyes. Everything I see is crystal clear. I believed your lies. The love you had for me was insincere. Your rage tore me apart, locked your love up from the start. Now you're questioning if I have a heart. Well, you don't get it. No, you don't get it. No.
Our guest on the Mulligan Stew podcast is Nuela Charles. I want to ask you about a couple of things. September 22nd, 24th, you're in Hamburg.
Mm-hmm.
You played Germany before. What do you got going over there?
Yeah, so I'm playing Reeperbahn Festival,
Yeah.
which is this huge showcase festival where people from all over the world come to play. This year, I'm going as part of the Canadian delegation, and as well as part of my publisher, Day Tripper Songs, is hosting a full day of music on Saturday, the 25th, or the 24th. And it's just, it's amazing to be able to take my music internationally and hopefully develop some business out there. And, I have a lot of listeners on Spotify and, iTunes and stuff that are from Germany. And this year I was fortunate enough to have a huge commercial campaign in Europe throughout multiple countries. So just to be able to go back and actually play my music.
In that previous interview, you did describe your music as being sort of UK blues influence, so pop influence. Still, there's elements in there.
Yeah, no, 100%.
I recognize that. I understand that.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah.
I grew up with that. I play that. I understand that.
Yeah.
And then you go to Breakout West in Calgary. Just the end of September and the 1st of October.
A lot of these, festivals are great business opportunities just to develop and connect with people. And, a lot of my previous work and tours and shows and just getting music on television has been through these events and meeting people. And I'm really excited to go back to Calgary. It's been a while since I've played there. So it'll be fun.
Okay, and you're on stage. That's the best thing. You're on stage.
Exactly.
There's nobody pointing fingers at you. You can just step in front of the mic and let it out.
Yeah.
So here's your question. Now that you've gone through these trials and tribulations, the ups and downs, the roller coasters, the BS that's thrown at you, the standing your ground, what advice can you give to a younger Nuela Charles-like person, or yourself, a younger you, that would maybe help, would assist, would support? What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think, you have to have tough skin in this industry. You can't be precious about what you do or, feedback that you might get, because everyone's going to have an opinion. Yeah. And for me, it was just about being consistent and continually to try to develop my craft and my skill as a songwriter, and really hone that in and work with lots of different people. Not all sessions are going to be great sessions, but you got to just go through them to figure out what you like and what you don't like. And at the end of the day, it's like you have to have that patience, but also the perseverance to keep going when things might not look like they're going your way right away. Because everyone has this notion of overnight success, but that's like 10 years in, So I'm this is my 10th year this October. So I'm just,
you're in. You're in the business.
I'm in deep. Yeah. It's like, do I quit now? It's like, no, I gotta.
No.
What I tell everyone is like, keep going. So I'm telling myself that too. Like, you got this.
Her name is Nuela Charles. And yesterday, her self-titled 4th album just came out, called, strangely enough, Nuela Charles. And so the first interview she's doing is right here on Mulligan Stew, CKUA. And how about that CKUA in your life?
I love it. I think just the community, especially, I tell everyone this, my artist career didn't start until I went back to Edmonton. And it was, for me, my family had lived there a couple of years prior, and I was off at school, and coming back to a community that I didn't know, but that fully accepted who I was, and who I wanted to be as an artist has been so meaningful in my life. And so to have stations like CKUA, just back me from the beginning has been monumental. Like, it's just given me that drive to just keep going and to really, just be a part of the community as much as I can.
And donor supported and totally unique and brave as hell in terms of their music choices.
No, exactly. They're very much artist first. And I think that's something to be said. Yeah.
Well, welcome to Mulligan Stew and the Mulligan Stew podcast, and congratulations on your new album.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Nuela Charles. Her 4th album is self-titled, and it came out on Friday. If you like those 3 tracks, you should hear the whole album. She's going to have a very interesting 2023. Coming up on the Mulligan Stew podcast next week, Ken Ehrlich, a name that might ring a bell. For many, many, many years, he was the executive producer of the Grammy Awards, always in the middle of all of the word fights, the spitting contests. But he also made a friend in Dr. John, who won 6 Grammys, did Dr. John. That's how they met. And Mac Rebennack turned Ken Ehrlich onto the music of New Orleans, and he was totally smitten. They became great friends. And when Mac passed away this year, it was Ken Ehrlich who spoke about his friend at the gathering, the celebration of his life, and wrote the liner notes for the new album. Guess things happen that way. We can't talk to Mac. We're going to talk to Ken Ehrlich next week. Also interviews with David Miles, who's back in Freddie Beach, Fredericton, New Brunswick. Councillor Joe Keithley, also known as Joe Shithead, DOA. Yes, he's going for re-election. We're going to hear his speech. Well, he's going to make a pitch is what he is. I want to support him. Joe Keithley in Burnaby. In between campaigns, he went out and toured with DOA. We're going to be talking to Art Bergman. He lost the love of his life. Early James. The Family Curse, which is Candle and Neil Osborne. Neil of 5440. And there's, and just finished an interview with Susan Tedeschi from Tedeschi Trucks Band. They have released their 4 albums. We talked to her in May about these 4 albums that were coming called I Am the Moon, 1, 2, 3, 4. They're all released now, and she can talk about the whole complete project, I Am the Moon. Susan Tedeschi at home with Derek Trucks walking in the background, going from studio to studio. And that's coming up shortly. It's the Mulligan Stew Podcast. Please subscribe. Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts. And then it comes to you each and every week. Thank you for listening. Careful.